we felt, okay, what did we do wrong? He's going to discipline us. And you were kind of afraid of that. It just put something in your belly, and you would say to yourself, oh no. His eyebrows would go up, and his eyes would turn a deeper green than they were, and you knew he was angry. Everybody would say, I don't want to get in trouble because Joseph's going to strangle us.
Toya Jackson exposed the painful side of Michael Jackson's childhood, and her words made people look at Joe Jackson in a much darker way.
Well, as you know from reading the book, there was a lot of abuse in the family. There was not only physical and emotional, but there was also sexual abuse. And I think this is something that needs to be addressed to the world, to the public, to let people know that sexual abuse is wrong, and we should put a stop to it.
How scared. I mean, scared. So scared that I would regurgitate.
When he was beating you, did you hate him?
Yeah. Strong hate.
For years, fans saw Michael as the biggest entertainer in the world. The voice, the dancing, the stage presence, and the perfection made him look almost untouchable. But behind that success, there was a childhood filled with pressure, fear, and pain that Michael carried for the rest of his life.
Because you live with this anger and this fear inside of you, and it's not healthy for your system. So I think anybody who's ever been abused should speak out and let people know that you're being abused. Because eventually, what the abuser doesn't know is eventually that person that they're abusing is going to tell on you sooner or later. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but eventually that person will speak out and say, this person abused me.
That is why Toya's comments hit so hard. She was not speaking as an outsider. She was Michael's sister, someone who grew up inside the same home and saw the family dynamic up close. When she talked about Joe's harsh treatment, it gave fans another look at the cost behind Michael's greatness. And that is what makes this story so emotional. Michael became a legend, but the road that created him was not soft, normal, or easy. It was built through discipline, pressure, and trauma that shaped the man the world later watched on stage.
It was very, very hard. My father was very strict. He beat us.
Well, when you say he beat you, did he spank you, whip you? I mean, what?
He had a belt, you say in the book.
Belts, whips, whatever. My brothers were grown, and my father would take his fist and he would punch them and knock them down the steps constantly.
Would they provoke him?
To this day, no, of course not. To this day, they are still afraid of my father, and they will tell you.
And he didn't allow us to call him Daddy. And I wanted to call him Daddy so bad. He said, I'm not Daddy, I'm Joseph to you, you know? And I totally forgive him for all of it, you know? You have to.
And then she opened up about the beatings she says she and Michael experienced, and this made the story even more painful. According to Toya, Michael suffered quietly, even while the world saw him as a superstar. He was expected to perform, smile, and be perfect. But behind closed doors, he was dealing with emotional wounds that never fully left him.
They come to me and they say, Toya, we have kids in college and we're afraid of my father still today. But my mother allowed this to go on, which makes it so bad. She didn't stop it.
She too was a victim, wasn't she?
My
Sometimes?
mother, by my father, according to my brother, yes. According to Michael, he would tell me he would see my father beating my mother. I have never seen my father beat my mother. But he beats all of us. I got beat once only, but
you came
brothers.
home with a straight A report card and got
I came
beat.
home with a report card, and there it was. He beat me. I didn't know why, because when you're young, you don't understand. But it was because I didn't speak up and talk in school. And the reason for that is because I saw so much going on inside the house. I said to myself, I don't want to be a part of this, and I would never talk. I was so quiet and shy because I didn't want it to happen to me.
So did this persist all through your childhood and continue into young adulthood?
Adults, everything. I mean, Michael was doing, I think it was Off the Wall, Thriller, and he was still getting beat, but what you guys see is him up on the awards, accepting these awards and smiling. My father's chasing him around the house and he's running from him, terrified. I think child abuse is really a major issue in America. I'm not so sure about here in Europe and
yes,
Britain.
people have been reported, Roseanne Barr among them, and yourself standing up and saying they were abused as children. Were you sexually abused as a child?
Yes, sexually abused, physical and mentally as well. It went on in our family all the time. And the sad part about it all is that No one really knew about it because we always had to smile for the cameras whenever we were on television or taking pictures and pretend like we were this loving, perfect family. However, at home it was quite different for us. And you can't live your life with this in your system.
That is what makes her words so heavy. Michael was not just a child star chasing fame. He was a young boy pushed into a life where success came with fear and control. And even when he became the biggest entertainer in the world, that childhood pain stayed with him. So LaToya comments helped explain why Michael often seemed so sensitive, so guarded, and so desperate for peace. The world saw the legend, but his family saw the child who had been hurt long before the fame.
My father was a very abusive person, and I think he didn't know how to control it, or he didn't know or realize what he was doing. He did lots of things. He would beat us constantly. He would take guns and put them to our heads and pull the trigger all the time until the day I left home. He would take matches and burn our toes, and he would laugh, and we couldn't do anything. Because if you would say no or whatever when you were asleep and he's burning your toes, he would beat you. So you'd have to stay there and just take the pain and not do anything.
What kind of man is this?
Well, I think he's mentally deranged, don't you?
I agree with you.
I think he's mentally disturbed. I don't think that...
You stayed with your parents till you were 30 years old. Why didn't you...
Until I was 29, yes, a very long time.
Why didn't you get out of the house sooner?
I made several attempts to leave. And, you know, you can ask me this question. Yes, of course. I made several attempts to leave. But I never could leave because my father would always say, wherever you go, I'm going to find you and bring you back home.
Then LaToya explained that the pain inside the Jackson family home was not only about Michael. According to her, their father beat them and their mother felt like she could not simply leave.
Michael was the only one that actually tried to fight back and tried to hit your father.
He was a little boy, yes. He was the only one. I don't think he knew exactly what he was doing. But the more he would get beat, he'd throw it back at him and throw it through. He would have to always get the last lick in, always.
And yet he wrote a book where he didn't talk about the abuse at all.
He did talk about the beatings. In his book, he does. He mentions that his father was very abusive. He beat them all the time.
Really?
My mother also wrote a book, and she also mentions that in her book, and she also mentions my father's second family and so many other things. But she omitted this from her book in America, but the book that she wrote in Paris, it's still there.
What's been the reaction of your family to this book?
I have no idea. My parents, of course, they're denying it, and of course, typical that they would deny it. Denial is the first sign of dysfunctional and abuse as well. However, outsiders have accepted the book, and they can understand. They understand about the abuse. There wasn't just physical abuse, it was also mental abuse, which is very disturbing, and also sexual abuse as well.
That part makes the story even heavier because it shows how trapped the family dynamic was. Michael and his siblings were growing up under fear, pressure, and control, while their mother was also stuck in a position where walking away was not easy. So the children were not just dealing with strict discipline. They were living in a home where pain became normal and silence became part of survival.
And my mother was sort of like the silent partner. And she would always say, but it's not good for you to be out there alone. You're a girl and someone can follow you and follow you home, and it's very dangerous. But as
So
you asked me
terrorized
that
the whole
question,
family in a way, didn't you?
everybody. I was basically next to the last to leave home. Michael left home 1 week after I did. And you could say, why did he stay? He could have left as well, but he didn't.
For Michael, that kind of childhood shaped everything. He learned to perform through fear, smile through pressure, and hide pain behind perfection. The world saw the talent, but LaToya's words show the cost behind it. Michael was not just trying to become great, he was also trying to escape a home life that left deep emotional scars.
Because my father was disturbed. I think any man who sexually abused his daughter, something is wrong right here. But nothing was wrong with my mother, and she allowed him to do these things. It's very wrong. You don't allow your husband to sexually abuse your children like this.
And then LaToya used her own story to tell others why speaking up against misconduct matters. After talking about what she says happened inside the Jackson family home, she did not want the message to stop with Michael or her own pain. She wanted people who are suffering in silence to understand that staying quiet only protects the person causing the harm. Her point was that misconduct survives when people are too scared, too ashamed, or too trapped to talk about it. That made her words feel bigger than just one family story. LaToya was trying to turn a painful memory into a warning for others. She wanted victims to know they are not alone, and she wanted families to stop hiding mistreatment behind image, success, or fear.
And I just want to say to all the children or people that are out there that have been abused, all the big victims, please, you got to speak up and start telling people. Because if you don't, you won't help yourself. You're not curing yourself at all.
Well, it's not an appropriate time of the evening, I'm afraid, to talk about the nature of the sexual abuse, but your father physically attacked you, abused you, frightened you?
With everybody in the family. It wasn't just me. He would hold guns to our heads and pull the trigger constantly.
She explained that the pain, beatings, and family problems became so overwhelming that she and Michael reached moments where they felt like they could not take it anymore. That part is heartbreaking because it shows how serious the suffering was behind the fame. This was not just strict parenting or normal family pressure. According to LaToya, the emotional damage became so heavy that it pushed them into a very dark place. And that makes Michael's story even more painful. While the world saw him performing, smiling, and becoming a global star, he was privately carrying pain that most people never understood. LaToya's words show that the trauma did not disappear just because the family became famous. In some ways, fame only made it harder to talk about.
A lot of my brothers and sisters have tried to commit suicide. The point of the matter is, it's not which brother and sister tried to do it. The point of the matter is that we lived in a household that would drive you to do something like this. My father beat me, and he beat me, and he beat me, and then he threw me in the bathroom, and he closed the door, beat me with a belt buckle and a switch. My brothers are grown now, and they have all approached me at different times, and they've cried, and they've said, I'm terribly afraid of my father. It's a shame, but I can't stand to be in the same room with him. And they would always refer to him as, I hate him, I hate him. And the only reason that I'm telling this and saying this, Michael, if you're listening, is to help you. Again, you're covering up your true feelings, you're hiding, and you shouldn't do that. Express yourself and let it out. That's what's wrong with the family. We led a very sheltered life, and no one knows the true family, how they really are.
LaToya Jackson refused to take back her claims about Joe Jackson, and that moment made the family story even more painful. She had already spoken publicly about what she says happened inside the Jackson home, but when she was asked about those claims years later, she did not walk them back. Instead, she stood by what she had said and made it clear that the pain she described was not something she was willing to erase just because it was uncomfortable for people to hear. However, later on, she also explained that it was sometimes fine for parents to discipline their kids.
Today,
Where I am
having
today.
lived, I mean, you actually came out and said you thought it was true because you were.
Well,
that was all a lie. That was all because his influence. He told you to say that.
yes, but we grew up in an abusive family, meaning that my father, see, this is what's interesting about life.
Yeah.
That is what made the interview so serious. LaToya was talking about strict discipline or family pressure. While she was angry at her father at first, she later realized that discipline was necessary. However, she didn't mean that misconduct should be tolerated.
The way we grew up, and as you get older, you get smarter and you get wiser. And I grew up, you don't realize sometimes when your parents beat you or spank you or things of that nature, they're doing it to help you. But as a child, as a kid, you see it as, why is he hurting me? Why is he doing this to me? And that's how I saw it, and that's how my siblings saw it. Michael wrote about it in his book, how abusive my father was.
Michael was so fed up with the pain around him that he wanted to escape, but most of that suffering stayed hidden from the public. On stage, people saw the perfect performer. They saw the smile, the dancing, the voice, and the magic. But behind that image, Michael was carrying things he did not always say out loud. The pressure inside the family, the fear of disappointing Joe, and the emotional pain from his childhood followed him even after he became the biggest star in the world.
Michael Jackson, you don't have it so bad. What are you escaping from? You know?
I'm not escaping from anything. It's just a change of pace.
Right, it is.
It's a change of pace.
He doesn't escape from anything.
That is what makes LaToya's comments so heartbreaking. She showed that Michael's success did not come from a normal childhood. It came from a home where love and fear were mixed together, and where Michael often felt trapped by expectations he never asked for. Meanwhile, Janet Jackson has also spoken about how strict and difficult that environment could be. She was younger than Michael, but she still saw the pressure, the control, and the emotional weight that came with being part of such a famous family. For the Jackson children, fame did not mean freedom. In many ways, it meant more expectations, more discipline, and more pressure to protect the family image.
And wants nothing but the best for his kids. I just think that the way he went about certain things wasn't the best way, but it got the job done. And that's because of maybe how he was raised, doing what he thought was best, not knowing any better. So
you tell a story in the book, one occasion you cite when you're getting out of the bathtub and he whacks you. How old were you then?
I was very young. I remember being younger than 8, let me put it like that.
I mean, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. And I can't remember what it was that I did. I can't remember if I truly deserved it. But my father's never touched me aside from that time. He's never whipped me.
But he did the boys quite a lot. He was quite a physically disciplinarian guy.
When my brother Randy and I, when we came along, I think my parents got kind of tired. Having 9 kids and raising these children, I think they became, and everyone says, you guys have it so easy, my other brothers and sisters would say. And my parents were a lot more lenient with us.
Then Joe Jackson denied beating Michael, and that denial became another major part of the story. Joe always defended himself by saying he was strict because he wanted his children to succeed. From his side, the discipline was about building greatness, keeping the family focused, and pushing them toward a life they may never have reached without pressure. He did not present himself as someone who wanted to hurt Michael. He presented himself as a father who believed tough discipline was necessary.
What do you say about all these things that have been said over the years that you harmed Michael as a child?
Oh, that's a bunch of bull. That's a bunch of bull.
Straighten me out.
That's not true.
You never physically harmed him?
Never have. And I raised him just like you would raise your kids, you know. But harm Michael for what? I have no reason. That's my son. I loved him, and I still love him.
Then Joe Jackson spoke about beating his kids, and his response showed how differently he viewed the way he raised them. Joe did not present it as misconduct. He defended it as discipline. From his side, he believed he was being strict because he wanted his children to stay focused, stay out of trouble, and become successful. He saw himself as a father who had to be hard on them because the world was hard, and he believed that pressure helped turn the Jacksons into stars. But that is where the story becomes painful. Because what Joe called discipline, Michael and others described as fear, pressure, and emotional damage. Michael spoke about being scared of his father, and LaToya opened up about the pain inside the family home.
There is a difference between a beating and a spanking.
A spanking, you know, you just spank them a little bit with your hand or something, let them know that's wrong what they're doing. A beating comes from the slavery days, when they used to beat the slaves, because when the slaves tried to run for freedom or something, they grabbed them and beat them and tortured them, you know. And they beat them with just about anything they get their hands on, put scars on them and all that type of thing. And that's the difference between beating, and that's where it came from in the slavery days by the slave masters.
Then the story gets even darker when Michael spoke about Joe holding a belt while they practiced. For Michael, practice was not just about singing the right note or doing the right step. It came with fear. If he made a mistake, Joe could be standing there with a belt in his hand, ready to punish him. That kind of pressure made rehearsals feel less like childhood training and more like survival.
Have it that hard, because he used me as the example. It was like, do it like Michael. You know, and he practiced us with a belt in his hand. And if you miss a step, expect to be...
Just let me go back. You just said that you would practice the dance steps and your father would be holding a belt in his hand. Is that what you just said?
Yes. And he would tear you up if you missed. And so we, not only were we practicing, we were nervous rehearsing, because he sat in a chair and he had this belt in his hand. And if you didn't do it the right way, he would tear you up, really get you.
Michael Jackson later opened up about the beatings he experienced as a child, and his words showed how deeply that pain stayed with him.
But I think my brother Marlon got it the most, because he had a hard time at first, and he tried so hard. And it was always, do it like Michael, you know, but the others were very nervous, and I was nervous too, you know, because he was tough.
How often would he beat you?
Too much.
He explained that rehearsals were not just about music, dancing, and becoming great. They were filled with fear. If Michael made a mistake, he knew punishment could follow. Joe Jackson was often described as strict and intimidating, and Michael said that fear became part of his childhood.
Would he only use a belt?
Why do you do this to me? No, more than a belt.
What else would he use to hit you with?
ironing cords, whatever's around. Throw you up against the wall as hard as he could. See, it's one thing to...
But you were only a child.
I know.
You were a baby.
That is what makes the story so painful. The world saw Michael as a perfect performer, but that perfection came from a place of pressure. He learned very young that getting something wrong could lead to pain, so he pushed himself harder and harder until every move, every note, and every performance had to be flawless.
It's one thing to discipline.
And you were producing successful records.
I know. He would lose his temper. I just remember hearing my mother scream, "Joe, you're gonna kill him, you're gonna kill him, stop it, you're gonna kill him," you know, and I was so fast, you know, he couldn't catch me half the time, but when he would catch me, oh my God, it was bad.
Make sure to check out our other videos on the screen.